Guys, we're starting shoot in 30 minutes. Vishwas, Harshit, is everyone ready? Guys, how am I looking?
Have you not slept last night? Your under eyes look puffy.
Wait, I actually might have something here from the very brand that's coming in today. It's the Dew's reusable eye patches. Let me sort myself out. Alright guys, 20 minutes are up. I think we're good to go. Hi Shamika.
Hi Simran.
Welcome to Runway Miles with Simran. In our season 1, which we like to call estimated time of arrival, we're interviewing founders of startups we believe have only an estimated amount of time to go before they arrive. And today, we're focused with the arrival of Dew, a coming of age, new age skincare brand which is high performing, stands for transparency, is something that owns science, and as Alia Bhatt likes to put it, she's never felt more attached to a product, and we couldn't agree more. I've personally been a consumer of Dew and I love it. Shamika here with us today is the founder of Dew, and we're very excited to be chatting with you today. Shamika, please share your thoughts on being on the show.
I'm really excited, Simran, when you contacted me for the show. I thought I saw what you'd written in your overview, and it sounded like a very passionate project. And I thought it'd be an interesting thing to be a part of this. So I'm really looking forward, and I'm wishing you all the best when you launch it within a month or so. And really happy to be a part of the initial few interviews.
Lovely to have you here. Please also share your thoughts on the wardrobe.
I know,
for
how
today.
did we for everyone seeing this, we did not plan this. But I think that's a testament to really living the Dew vibe. It makes me happy that the branding is, really penetrating within our community.
Yeah.
So as a founder, of course, I have a natural affinity to these colors, but it's really nice to see that we're literally twining today.
And we're looking like bottles of hustle.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is something not known to everybody is, you're also from a legal background.
Yeah. Which is another thing we have in common.
We're both, products of doctors.
Yeah.
So there's a lot in common from there, and I feel like it'll be a very interesting chat here on. First off, Shamika, why skincare? Our question to you is just about how did you stumble upon skincare? It's a very interesting category. As a woman, I relate so much to this category, and I understand the reason for you wanting to step into this space, but it is a very cluttered market.
Yeah.
There are so many players. There are these legacy brands, and now there are so many new age D2C brands trying to crawl into this space. Very little scope of differentiation, given the large number of players in this market, very little scope of differentiation.
Yeah.
So what was your whole intent to break through in this industry? And what was your go-to market strategy? Where did you want to differentiate in this whole space?
So, I mean, why skincare? I think when I started working on Dew, many years, and in every entrepreneur's life, there is that initial bug that always starts many years preceding until when you actually do it. So the want to be an entrepreneur was somewhere at the back of my mind when I was beginning to get dissatisfied in my legal career. But what was it really had not hit the gut punch for me all those years that I was contemplating. I'd also lived abroad for, very in and out over 10 years, many years I was outside and I'd keep coming back to India. When I'd finally sort of come back to India in 2018, I saw, and because I was living abroad, I was a natural consumer of a lot of Western brands. Western and Eastern. So back before K-beauty became the rage, I was consuming Korean skincare as well. So when I came back to India and naturally looked at the market here to buy products and see what are the good brands, I couldn't find a brand that sort of fit into what a consumer like me was looking for. And a brand that was doing really efficacious, superior formulations, that had packaged the products really well, that was speaking to me as an intelligent consumer. Today's consumers are smart, But I felt at that time that brands were not speaking to them smartly. Messaging like, greenwashing, clean beauty, dirty beauty, no ingredients, chemical free. These are all messagings which use fear as a persuasive tool to sell to you. But this is not rooted in science. And I'm a smart person. I want brands to know that I know better and to not communicate to me that way. So that didn't sit right to me. So either there were really nice, good formulas, but they were packaged very badly in like black, golden tubes. Like, it didn't appeal to my sensibilities.
Sure.
Or there were, okay sort of packaging, but no thought put into the formulas. So and this messaging part of it was missing. So I saw that there's space for one brand to sort of do and hit all of those check marks right. And that became the idea, because when I came back, I couldn't find a brand. Then I was like, okay, there's a space for a brand like this, because if I exist, there might be more consumers like me who also consume from the Western brands that are satisfying their needs, but is something like that is missing in India.
Sure.
And that became the seed to make or develop Dew. And when I was starting Dew, one thing I was very clear on is I'm not starting the brand because beauty is suddenly hot in India. I didn't even know or care about that. I was very clear on one point, that if I'm to launch a beauty brand, I need to launch products that are different. I can't launch Me Too products that are just going to add to the landfill. There's enough of that clutter already there. There was a lot of confusion in the market. While Ordinary really made skincare so accessible and democratized it for the people, it also arose acute confusion in terms of active ingredients, and a lot of single ingredient products were being launched, which gets overwhelming for the lay consumer to really understand, how do I pair my vitamin C with my niacinamide, with my hyaluronic acid, with my peptides, what goes first, what goes second, how much is too much. You have to play chemist at home.
Yeah.
Which there are people who look, I want to take care of my skin, but I don't want to go through this hassle. Like so I'm like, why isn't there a solution that can just bottle all of this up in one and give that easy solution to the customer?
Right.
And with this question, I went to a lot of manufacturers and labs. And they're like, because efficacy and stability of so many active ingredients in one bottle is not easy. That's why it's not done. And businesses don't do it because it cuts down their SKUs.
Yeah.
And you'd rather make one product of each single ingredient than make one SKU putting all of it together. And I was like, that's not my problem, because that's I'm not running my business or brand that way. So I'm okay with that aspect of things. Can you tell me if you're okay to go through the run with me and try to make this ambitious formula? Some agreed, some didn't agree, some agreed and fell through in the middle, then some stuck out, and then that's the lab that we finally built the Hustle formulation with.
Right.
But the idea was to really look at making that kind of a formula that would solve this pain point.
Right.
And so, we launched you with that one SKU, Hustle, and too soon to say, but rest is history. 2.5 years later, yeah.
Right. No, 100%. And we keep seeing on your communication through your Instagram, through your website, Hustle is really an embodiment, which was your first product and was your product for very long. I think it was for the first 1.5 years you only had one product.
Yeah.
I think the idea behind Hustle was to really clear the confusion.
Correct.
And to put it into one bottle, really. So, I think bang on identifying the consumer pain point there, and I think that really became your differentiator from this whole noise of skincare around us. And Shamika, you've been a lawyer, you're from the legal background, you've done litigation in the Bombay High Court, you've done an LLM in the US, then you worked in ICC Hong Kong. There's been a whole career behind this entrepreneurial journey. What would you say have been some of the hard and soft skills that you have borrowed from this legal career? The legal career is, at the end of the day, very high pressure. There are long hours involved. What do you think you've borrowed from this career which, helps you float your boat even today?
I think previous career as well as life, right? Like life teaches you a lot of soft skills that one should never ignore, especially when transitioning, and people are very scared to transition careers when there's a significant amount of education years and work experience that you've put in. But the biggest soft skill I've learned from the work and my life is resilience. Resilience to keep going, resilience to never give up, resilience to sail through the tough times. Other things are just working under pressure, multitasking and juggling a lot. I also, self-diagnosed ADD. And I once read that, the only profession that suits an ADD person is an entrepreneur.
Tell us a little more about that.
Because, like, again, self-diagnosed, so don't take this, like, get a proper diagnosis. But, you are always, there are 50 things, your 50 tab screen on your laptop is the reality in your head. So you're always thinking and doing 50 things at a go in your head. And as a founder, you have to do 50 things at one time. You're doing something that you're working on. Your team is asking you something. Your supplier is asking you something. Your warehouse team is asking you for decisions. So there's a lot of things you have to constantly do. And, that kind of helps the mindset that, soft ADD sort of personality already has. But coming to your question, so resilience, working under pressure, multitasking, and still having clarity of thought. Clarity of thought is something I think law taught me a lot in. And as a founder, entrepreneur, that's something you need to have. And the last thing, soft skill, is problem solving, which if you don't have, it would be very hard to be an entrepreneur, because every day you're fighting fires. You cannot get bogged down. You cannot be, how am I going to climb this mountain now? Yeah. You have to have the sort of attitude that solve this. There is going to be a solution to everything. People have come before you who've done it. People will come after you who will do it. So you will also be able to figure it out. Just don't get overwhelmed with it. Easier said than done. Even I get overwhelmed. But have the mentality that I have to solve it and move on. So these are all soft skills that come, that I think I have because of my career in law. And just being very thorough, right? Like silly mistakes, proofreading, documentation.
Yeah.
How we are, especially in litigation, we've always been taught to be so thorough with your documentation. How crisp your emails have to be, how you have to communicate your problem or communicate anything with any third party very clearly.
So safe to assume that you would not have looked how it looks today if there wasn't this precedence of a legal career.
I would say so. And like even anyone watching this who probably wants to also transition in careers, there's always the fear that what will your parents say, or you've put in that many years in your education and work. But no amount of education ever goes waste. No experience ever goes waste. You've learned something from it that you don't realize it then, but it will come of use to you 5 years later, 1 year later, 10 years later. No experience, even like lived experiences ever go to waste.
100%.
Yeah.
So, anybody planning, for a pivot from what they're doing now, and, especially where people come from like a medical background or legal background, spend 5 years in their undergrad, and there's always that question that comes in, but I feel like now we're really in a time where, especially, we watch these shows like Shark Tank India, where the first question your investors will ask you, in fact, let's leave Shark Tank, let's talk about VCs looking to invest in your brand. The first question will be, what is your background? Or what kind of education do you come from? And I think that the experience that you've had perhaps in whatever jobs, and that is very fundamental in looking at the grit an entrepreneur possesses perhaps. So I think nothing to shy away from.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And I look at the same when I am hiring for my team as well. Like I support people who want to pivot their careers. They need that support at that time, and they shouldn't be scared. Don't undervalue the soft skills you've learned through whatever career you might have had and you want to pivot on to something else. It's really doable. You just have to be basic smarts need to be in place, and that hunger to want to learn. Everything is learnable, right? I'm not a chemist, but I understand formulas. I learned it. Everything is learnable and figure outable in life.
Right. In our chat earlier, we spoke about how Due is completely bootstrapped. It's been profitable since the first year. I think you all have eventual plans of raising funds, but so far it's all been, self-invested capital. Take us through the whole journey of, starting out, and how did you gather the capital? How did you really go about it?
Yeah. So, when I was starting out, and I knew that I have very limited capital to start with. I had some of my savings and I borrowed a little bit from my dad. So in the company, the two shareholders are me and my dad. And it's a very small amount. People may not, I don't know, it's what you think, what it looks from outside, that a brand like Dew would need a lot of capital. So people don't believe also that we are bootstrapped.
Yeah.
But we are. And I started with very small capital and I've never infused money after that again. So for me, and when I started, all of that little capital I had went into product development. When I started on day one, I had no money for marketing. I had zero budget. And I didn't even know performance ads karna, like you have to do ads or whatever. And I started with like a 30,000 budget a month. I was like, I don't have more money than this. Because the business, my thought process is very simple. Coming from a middle class family is like, spend less than what you make.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm like, until my company makes money, I can't borrow money to spend on marketing. Like you can't spend money to bring you money. Like that concept only didn't. Now I understand it, but then I didn't. And that naivety helped me run a very frugal business. And that's what led us to be profitable. So it also means that I was running on a very lean team. It also meant that I was doing the work of a CEO to a peon.
Yeah.
I was doing everything. So I was working that of 10 people. So my team was really small. So my expenses were very curtailed. And all of my money was only going into product development.
Right.
And that helped in a way that I didn't have that insight that this would help me. But I ended up making a product that started speaking for itself and got me that organic traction.
Correct.
Instead of creating an illusion of traction, which what you do with marketing. That's not bad. But when we spend money making a good product and the efficacy pulled us that repeat rate. In today's D2C space, to go in the green, to become profitable, it's your retention number that matters.
100%.
Because acquisition costs for everyone blanket across the board are very high. So it's the retention that's going to give you profitability. So with just being with a single SKU, our repeat rate was very high. We had people coming in for 7 bottles a year.
Right.
Because the formula was working.
Sure.
And yeah, for 1-2 years, I didn't have a life. That's the sacrifice I had to
make, yeah.
for the health of the company. But there are many ways to do this. Like this is the only way I knew how to do. That's really how I want to. And people say when you scale exponentially, you have to also put in that much money, which is fair. But I felt that I want to scale when there is a PMF. That's product market fit.
Correct.
That's when I know that I'm not going to be burning money. The money I'm putting into scale is to now spread wide the awareness and increase my acquisition. But it is not until I hit PMF. And PMF for every brand is going to be different. Is it the 1,000 customers that come back? Is it the 10,000 customers that come back? So, you have to figure that out for your product and service, what the PMF is. And once you know there is a PMF, once you know 60% of the people you're selling to have good things to say about it, are happy about it, then put in the money and scale.
Right. So Shamika, there's always that debate between growth and profitability, and especially with so many of these startups which are VC funded, there'll always be a lot of pressure for growth at the cost of profitability. And we have so many brands and new players in this category, in the personal care category, who prioritized growth and were burning cash and in the whole race of like getting to top and getting ahead of the other competition and making a mark. And was there at all a moment of self-doubt? Was there any insecurity seeing other brands like really like running faster, and was there like a moment that you took to yourself to maybe reevaluate this?
I wouldn't lie and say no. When you see other brands launching 10, 15 SKUs a month and you're launching one SKU in a year and a half, you do think. And last year was a lot of that thinking that, do we stick to the strategy with why we launched, or do we change that? And there goes 48 hours of my intense introspection, me talking to myself. And then I have to just realign myself to our North Star. Why I launched you. Why it has done well so far is because it has had a distinct, unique identity. Whatever we have done has worked for the brand. We need to stick to that ethos. I didn't launch Dew to be able to just make business in beauty and clutter the market. I launched Dew so I can give impactful, superior formulations. 5 years, 10 years later, anyone is like, if the product is by Dew, I know it's going to be a great product. And that kind of credibility takes time to build. My strategy has been clear that we launch with single SKUs over a long period of time because I need each SKU to have a long enough runway to make that identity.
100%.
the market doesn't need more confusion.
Yeah.
Right? This principle is very simple. If you think that by launching multiple SKUs, you give your customers options when they come on the website, that's a wrong strategy. You're confusing the customer more. Make their decision easier. Give them lesser options, they will make a decision faster. Then they will convert.
Shamika, you didn't just build a run-of-the-mill skincare brand. It's definitely stand out. It has a very unique value proposition. You focus so much on product development, which is something super rare, and like we were talking about this whole white labeling game going on. On the other hand, you decided to make product development your sole focus. You pretty much took a one-way ticket to Korea to get your manufacturing done there because, as you said, the Indian manufacturers weren't really fulfilling your quality expectation. What was the whole idea there, and what was this drive to really go after product development that hardcore and not just refusing to settle for anything here?
So I think that comes from, I'm personally passionate about product development and product quality. I have a very, very personal high standard in the kind of products I use. And if I'm not using a product that, so many times we develop a lot of products that are in the pipeline that we never end up launching, and I use them for an entire year and then we decide not to launch them if it's not up to that 150% quality. So that this obsession with product comes from my personal obsession with understanding how products work and how we can make a very superior quality product.
So, you took this one-way ticket to Korea.
Yeah.
You decided to be there, fetch for your own brand yourself. There was no business background that precedes you. You're from a career where you haven't even studied business for that matter. I think you do have some experience in marketing, some job you did in Australia, but just where did you find this drive to take this whole, plunge and go at it so head forward?
I think that, drive is something that, I don't know if you can point to that one thing that, but I think when I decided I wanted to do it, then I had horse blinders on. And I didn't know if it would take me 6 months to do it, 3 months, 1 year. I didn't know what that time frame looked like. I just knew that I have to put one foot forward of the other and just figure this out. I made a fake business card. Okay, I hadn't even registered my company yet. I made a fake business card. I literally booked a one-way ticket and went to Seoul, Korea. And then I would meet manufacturers there and ask them to give me a meeting. Some of them believed, some of them gave me, some of them probably wondered, who is this random girl? See, because back then they were used to dealing with conglomerates like the likes of L'Oreal's and the bigger conglomerates. Their product development team of 7 people would come and, do that kind of, some random girl from India, they were not doing that much business with India 4 years back. So a random girl from India is coming, we don't know what company this is, and I hadn't registered my company also. It's fake it till you make it, right? But I would just speak with a lot of passion. I would try to sell them what vision I have for the brand. And then some of them agreed to work with me. And it's funny because, the lab that we ended up working with for Hustle's formulation, I had to push them a lot to make the formulation that we did, right? Because Korean labs are also they push a lot when you say, there's a whole thing of concept ingredients in Korea. You put a marketing ingredient, just put it in the formula but in very, very low dosage. So you can at least market it that this ingredient has this presence.
Such as what are these ingredients?
It can be anything. You want to make a calendula range. You put 0.001% of calendula, but you can start putting it in your packaging because it's...
Right.
But that negligible percentage doesn't add to efficacy.
Correct.
And the motto is objective with all the formulations is if there is some ingredient that's going to act, it has to be in its active dosage if you're making any claims.
Yeah.
So I would really push, no, you have to use it at this percent, and they would really push back. And so Hustle's formula took us 16 months to make with all of this.
Oh.
Yeah. A lot of stability testing, but we finally did it. And then, now the entire lab uses Hustle.
Right.
They all pushed back.
I see why.
They pushed back initially, and now all of them use Hustle, and
we're talking about the lab in Korea right now.
Yeah.
Right.
And Koreans are very against higher percentages of actives and all of that. So like now they all saw the merit in the formula after it was launched, and now the chemist loves me. We also did IMD, like the moisturizer with them as well. So then they started seeing like the merit in kind of, what I want to do with the brand. And also, of course, after we launched, they saw the tangibleness of the brand, the branding, our positioning, our the way we market, and they loved it. And then we started having labs approach us wanting to work. So from going from a place where I didn't know who to go and work with, I have today the best labs coming to me and wanting to work.
Right.
So that's when your brand is talking for itself and building its own credibility.
And great feeling
Yes.
to have that.
Yeah.
Shamika, so in my interaction with founders, I am always told that it's a tough climb to start a business, grow a business. But what all of them maintain is that this journey just gets a little easier. The pressure gets divided when they have a co-founder. You're the sole founder of Due. You've been at it all by yourself.
Yeah.
How has that been? How's that been for you?
Well, it's not been great for my health, I'll tell you that. But I mean, of course, it's been hard. Like, there's no sugarcoating that. But I mean, initially, like, even to hire people. See, as a founder, especially as a solo founder, it's a very isolating journey. I'm not saying hard or easy. I mean, everyone's journey is hard, but it's very isolating. Before I launched Due, the vision that I had for the brand, it was all in my head, right? To sell that vision to someone and convince them to join you, either as a co-founder or whatever. They're like, I mean, we don't have any guarantee. You have not raised funds. What do we know? What's the guarantee you're going to see this through? This is going to be successful. So it's very hard to sell that because till then it's all in your head.
Right.
Until you've launched it, it's out there for the world to see. Then it's a tangible thing. Then people start seeing merit in it.
Sure.
Then people want to join you.
Right.
But until then, they don't. And then, well, I mean, most of the work is done, right? Like,
Right.
I've invested the capital. It's literally been my sweat, blood, tears, and a lot of sleepless nights. Then taking on a co-founder and, splitting equity didn't make sense to me. But I mean, we do now, we're hiring for like senior level positions where equal kind of responsibility can be shared.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, to answer your question, it is an isolating journey as a solo founder. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. But if there is no other way, it's not impossible to do.
Now, Shamika, we're at a place in India. If you talk about India right now, skincare has really traveled to a point of indulgence. Pretty much, there's a concept of self-care which is very widely used now. People have these rituals that they follow. In wake of self-care, a girl and her mirror and her skincare in the morning, and at night it's almost theatrical. Whether it's somebody starting their day with a jade roller and to release that puffiness from their face, or whether it's layering a lot of these products and slapping a lot of products on your face at night and looking like a glazed donut and sleeping. There's pretty much this indulgent factor that's come into this whole skincare regime, which earlier used to be just washing your face, getting done with it, right?
Yeah.
And this is where we are now with this self-care space. How does it feel to enter the market at this point? What are your feelings about that?
See, I'll be realistic with you. It's a very, like, we have all become very consumerism is driving us. All of this, what you see is consumerism.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm now in the business of selling things, so I'm not going to be a hypocrite about it. All these indulgent routines that you see is marketing. It is to sell you something. It is to sell you the idea of self-care.
Yeah.
If you ask my opinion, you need very, very few things, basic things, to have healthy skin.
Yeah.
Right? Like, even in our current SKUs, we're very objectively upfront about it. Like, the eye patches is an indulgence. It's not a necessity. And
you acknowledge that.
yeah, very openly. But some people want... Now, as a consumer, you also have your free choice. Some people like doing that indulgent thing. Some people don't. So as a brand, we are catering to, if somebody wants to be indulgent, we have an option for you. If you're going to ask me my honest opinion, do you need it? No, you don't. So in the realm of self-care, a smart consumer can sort of siphon through what are indulgent aspects and what are the functional aspects.
Correct. And make an informed choice then.
Yeah, make an informed choice then. The options are available for you. People will market saying everything is the best and you need it. Make your own informed decisions. And brands have to do what they have to do to sell. Right? Like, can't fault them there. You are smart enough, you make that informed choice. And some brands will tell you, if you ask them, is this a necessity, is this absolute essential, or do I need it? And some people may overclaim and oversell, but even that you can see through.
Sure.
At You, we try not to do that. We never do that. Even when customers ask us, can ABC product help me with XYZ? If the product can't do that, we tell them that. With the eye patches, don't have unrealistic expectations. These are things we keep transparent with the customer, but even if some brands don't, the consumer should be smart enough to sift through that information and take that decision.
Sure. Now that I feel is very relevant, especially because previously there was no skincare market in India. Like there were people making maybe something to wash your face, maybe a cream to lather on, but there was no skincare market. Right? Like growing up, if you had a problem with your skin, your parents would take you to a dermatologist. That was the answer to skincare. And now we have this whole bunch of skincare brands that address all these needs, and you can pretty much self-diagnose, self-prescribe, use these products and see a treatment within yourself. But my whole thing is, because skincare brands have now taken up the mantle of what was dealt with by dermatologists, what was dealt with by experts in the field, I think it becomes all the more incumbent upon these brands to educate, to make sure that science is not something feared and is feared away from. And like at You all really own science. You all are very transparent about, like, let's say you all have these posts about hustle where you make it very clear about who should not use hustle and when not to use IMD. If you have a strong barrier, don't use IMD. So how important do you think is this information dissemination for you? How important do you think is this information dissemination for you all at You?
I think we always want to be very realistic with our audience. And when we say science at the forefront, science is ever changing. Science is dynamic. Today, research studies can come to XYZ conclusion. 6 months later, when more research is done, that conclusion can change. That's the reality of science.
Sure.
It's very nuanced. So today, as science stands, if they say silicons are good, if they say parabens are the safest preservatives, that's the opinion we will take as a brand. But tomorrow, if there is a study that shows parabens are not safe, they are toxic, and the study is further corroborated with multiple studies, and there is a non-debatable conclusion there, undisputable conclusion there, then as a brand we will bring that information forward as well. My point is, science is not set in stone, it's ever changing, but we will follow whatever that ever changing science is. And bringing that information to our audience without sugarcoating is our version of believing in transparency and being realistic. So even with hustle and IMD, there's, like I said, we don't invest a lot in marketing, but people always say there's so much hype around the products. There have been multiple times when I, as a founder, and we as a brand have had to control down the hype and tell our audience ki be realistic, have realistic. Like, everyone's talking about it and there people think, oh my god, I'll put it next day, my skin will be changed. No, that's not how cosmetics work. That's not how science and physiology of your skin works. So have those realistic expectations, and we've also had to say this to our audience, and that's what we believe in. Talk to them like they're smart people, set realistic expectations, communicate with them transparently, and then I think authenticity. Right.
I mean, I completely agree with you where you say that science is ever changing, and we've seen that because science is ever changing and this industry is based on science, we've seen a very shifting of trend kind of timeline with skincare. The messaging keeps on changing. So from people believing that a glycerine based face wash is right for them, to maybe salicylic acid is making the rounds, to then moving on to suddenly Korean skincare is there in India, to then moving on to maybe niacinamide is this magic ingredient that will help you with a lot of your concerns, to now retinol is going to help you out. So because this industry is so dynamic, would you say that your idea with you is to constantly evolve with the constant change in messaging?
No. See, the industry is very heavily dictated by trends, right? There's trend forecasting, like I think I remember like before, like right when we launched IMD, the trend for the year then ahead was that barrier repair is going to be like up there.
And ceramides, which
but barrier repair is not a trend. Barrier repair is something you need for first and foremost for all and sundry. So a short answer is our product launches or our communication can never be dictated. We don't want it to be dictated by trends, because then you have a short spurt of boost. Whatever you launch, whatever you're communicating, or whatever campaign you're running will have a good runway of 3-4 months, 6 months till that trend is active.
Right.
Then it'll eventually die down. Right? I don't want the brand's existence or longevity to be in spurts. I don't want the product demand to be in spurts. So my products can't be formulated or launched on trends. So my personal philosophy is very like the basics. The more you go down to basics and foundations of understanding your skin and skincare, and our products really revolve around that. So never ever dictated by trends. It's just not something I personally follow, or I don't think a smart consumer follows that also. Like you are a smart consumer, you can see what is a trend and what's not a trend, right? So no matter what the media and marketing, if they are talking about retinol right now, retinol is not a molecule for everyone. Everyone doesn't necessarily need it, but you're reading about it everywhere. You feel like, oh, it's like the gold standard, maybe I should try it. Try it, but like, it's not a non-negotiable. Like everyone doesn't absolutely need it.
And in line with that, because your approach is to eventually have an evergreen brand that, surpasses all these trends that keep on changing. What is interesting is that your products have an identity. They're not just descriptions. It's not a face cleanser or a moisturizing gel. It's the serum is called Hustle, or the moisturizer is called In My Defense. So what was the strategy really behind giving this whole identity to your products?
I think, and I also tell this to my team all the time, that the idea behind giving the identity to each of the product is so they have their own unique, distinct identity. See, I very strongly believe that a brand's long-term success or its longevity cannot be dependent on who the founder is, cannot be dependent on which influencers are promoting it, cannot be dependent on which celebrities using it. These, again, I go back to my previous point, are momentary spurts. But like I said, 5 years later, 10 years later, I want the audience to have the impression if Dew has made a product, it's going to be world class. That faith and credibility needs to come in the brand. So the brand has to, over time, build the strong foundational legs it can stand on its own unique identity. And then we try to translate it through its name. So if you see for In My Defense, it says nourishing skin food. It doesn't say moisturizer. So that's the idea. Like, in my defense, like the product is going to be in your defense. Hustle is because it hustles, it does everything for you without you having to do anything. So like that's kind of, and we have a very interesting name for our upcoming new product. So I can't tell now, but that's also very good. The idea we wanted to communicate with that product.
Speaking of celebrity brands, we're seeing so many celebrity influencer-led brands coming, making the rounds, whether it's Anomaly by Priyanka, whether it's K Beauty, which is in the beauty space, of course, by Katrina. There's a skincare brand by Deepika now. How do you view all this competition coming in from celebrity brands? Do you have a vision for maybe a brand ambassador eventually, and what do you think the value is of having a brand which goes alongside a figure,
a face?
Like, or to what extent would you want to collaborate with?
So when it comes to Dew, we might do campaigns with known face. I don't know. Maybe in the future. I'm just putting it out there. Like we don't have plans to do it right now, but never say never. But I would never want to associate the identity of a brand with a face.
Sure.
Because that face can be, it can be an influencer, it can be a celebrity, will be in demand for a while, and then your brand will be in demand for that. But it, again, goes back to my earlier point that I don't want a brand growth in spurts.
Yeah.
I'm building the brand for the longevity, so it needs to have its own identity.
Sure.
That's my basic point. So attaching somebody else's likeness, face likeness, and popularity to sell products from my brand is not, as per me, a long-term solution for a brand growth. So I'm not the biggest fan of that. So maybe we don't do that for Dew.
Right.
When it comes to, are these brands competition for Dew, I don't look at it like that. There are many brands in the market. There is enough clutter and competition already there. Celebrity brands posing a higher competition? No, I think the brand speaks to a very different audience. Principle with any brand that you build, right? Getting someone to purchase from you once, there are multiple ways to do it.
Yeah.
Attach celebrity face, make excellent marketing campaigns. Lots of glitz, glamour, do a lot of launch events, a lot of marketing. You can get the attention to have someone purchase from you once. But it's not all that counts today to build a brand.
Right.
You need that person to come back and purchase from you again and again and again, and have that credibility and faith in you as a brand.
Yeah.
That's my aim. That's what I want to do or build with you. So that getting that first purchase, multiple ways to crack that. And I feel a celebrity face is a very easy way to do that. So that's great.
Yeah.
And if there is a celebrity brand that makes superior, amazing products as well,
Sure.
that backs there's that R&D in the products as much as in the marketing that is going in the face attached to the brand, then it's a winning proposition.
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Now, when we speak of skincare, things could really go wrong when people buy your products. And I'm really going back to my earlier point of transparency.
Yeah.
Which is something you all follow very religiously at
Yeah.
Dew. There are these posts setting out by way of abundant caution, use this
That's
only.
my lawyer side coming out.
Correct. It completely comes out. You talk about how do a patch test first.
Yeah.
Use it only in your PM routine
Yeah.
first. While there are other brands, which now we were talking about retinol earlier. There's people using retinol left, right, and center, thinking of how it's going to give these anti-aging benefits, etc. There are so many brands which fail to communicate that it is so important to use, let's say, SPF with the use of retinol, and people end up then having a pigmented color 1 week later because nobody has told them to couple it with SPF. There are so many of these actives that interact not very well with other products, and this transparency is hugely missing from the market. But you guys, take a step forward, and you're so out there telling people about what not to do with your products, what not to mix with your products. Did you at any point feel like, did your branding agency or did your marketing people ever tell you that this could deter people from buying your products? Sometimes consumers are not always smart.
Yeah.
We're talking about a very selective population that's beginning to grow into the smartness. But have you ever felt like this could be deterring for somebody and feared it?
So one thing I'll tell you at the outset, and I'm never afraid of anything that deters someone to buy from Dew. Like a lot of people even question on our price point, right? You alienate a lot of junk, but alienating an audience by doing something right is not my fear.
Beautiful.
I want to do right by the few people who walk into our door to purchase from us. And doing right by them is more important for me than even if at the cost of supposedly alienating a junk. Dying it, like why we do these kind of educational posts is also, for the longest time we didn't onboard on any retailers. Also, this was the key reason. We needed to control the entire consumer journey start to end. Pre-purchase questions, post-purchase questions, how to effectively use the product. At that time when we launched Hustle as well, it had that many actives, it was very new. Consumer needed to know. They all obviously had a lot of questions. Average consumer will have existing products in their routine. How do I combine that with now that I buy Hustle? These are very realistic questions, and giving these answers to them is the least you can do when they're parting with their money to use a product you've made. Well, that's the nature of skincare.
Right.
Yeah.
Now just coming on to the price point here, y'all are priced at, I would say, slightly more premium pricing as compared to your counterparts.
Yeah.
There could be people who have an issue with affordability
Yeah.
here. While I do understand that, for me it works best because there's so many actives in
Yeah.
one product. But to really get that first customer, that person to make their first
Yeah.
purchase and realize
Yeah.
what the offering is,
Yeah.
it could be hard. But what are your plans with, let's say, the price point? Like eventually when you all scale or raise more funds, is the idea to make it a more massy product?
For me, everything started with making the product first, right? That remains at the core. So my cogs led me to decide the MRP.
Sure.
So our product making costs are high. At least it has been for Hustle and the moisturizer.
Of course.
Tomorrow, when we launch the other SKUs, their cogs will dictate their MRP.
Yeah.
I have even tried to make certain formulas in India. Even they come up with our higher costs. Why? Because the ingredients that we use, see, there's a mandelic acid you can use from an Indian supplier, there's a mandelic acid you can use from a European supplier.
Sure.
The European supplier will come with potency testing claims for that mandelic acid. So you can buy it for 10 rupees a kg versus you can buy it for 500 rupees a kg also.
Right.
So you can source the ingredients. So Dior, for example, uses some licorice extract, which is so potent. You have to use it in very minimal quantity, but it gives excellent brightening results.
I see.
But you can also get licorice powder from a local vendor, like your kirana ka dukan also.
Yeah.
So where you source your ingredients from really matters, and that always beefs up our COGS. COGS is cost of goods.
Right.
So our formula costs are always higher because we source our ingredients that come with good efficacy testing and potency claims.
Right.
Because like I said earlier in the conversation, we don't do marketing or concept ingredients. So if I'm using an ingredient, I needed to have, if there is a licorice extract, I needed to give me the benefits a licorice extract is supposed to give. And it's not going to exist in the formulation just like that, so I can market it accordingly.
Right. I'm a huge fan of Hustle's packaging, let's
Yeah.
say, which is a pump bottle. A serum is in a pump bottle
Yeah.
versus, the suck and drip
Yeah.
usual packaging
Dropper.
that you see, the dropper packaging that you see for serums. Which A, makes me feel like I'm in a chemistry lab suddenly. B, makes me take up more product than I'm supposed to perhaps consume,
Yeah.
It's so easy with Hustle to perhaps just get that one pump or
Yeah.
two pumps, and perhaps makes your own product more economically viable to somebody because one can use it for longer because you're wasting less product. So what was the thought process behind packaging? How much of a decision making was that?
So with Hustle, we had to go with airless packaging, and back then when we launched, we were one of the initial few who launched with airless packaging in India.
Talk to
Now
us about
there-
airless packaging.
So airless packaging is basically, there is no tube, like a dip tube that goes in. There is no air and light that can go into your into the packaging.
Sure.
So it's opaque double-walled packaging,
Yeah.
double-walled bottle, and there is no tube.
Right.
So there's a disc at the bottom of the bottle, and that disc keeps getting pushed up
I see.
on its own when you press.
Right.
And that's how the dispensation happens. When there is a tube, and every time you press, there is air that goes in and then it comes out. That's the mechanism. And airless means there's no air that can go in every time you pump. So because it was so high in actives, we needed a packaging that supported this formula. Imagine I made this kind of formulation and gave it to you in a dropper tube, and it there's no stability. It expires in 3 months sitting on your shelf.
Yeah.
You're not going to be happy with me. Like, I can give you a great formulation, but if it's not going to survive on your shelf, then I'm not giving you your money's worth.
Sure.
So we needed to ensure the formulation was stable, and that kind of formulation was stable in the packaging that we're providing. So we had to go with airless at the time. That kind of helps, and it's very ergonomic. Like, you can throw it around, you can take it in traveling. There's never like, not using glass was also very critical. A lot of people think glass is a sustainable option, but it's not.
Yeah.
Glass has a very, very, very high carbon footprint.
Interesting.
It's actually not a sustainable option. So glass was out of question. So it had to be plastic. We're looking at PCR, so now post-consumer recycled plastic as well.
Right.
LS options in that. But all of this takes a lot of time. To crack sustainability in packaging is a very, very big, like, a lot of people make statements like, we consciously say that we don't make any environmental friendly or sustainable claims at all with the brand. It's too big a thing to say. by the fact or by default of you making a brand and putting out a product that never existed before, you have added to the landfill just there itself.
Yeah.
So accept that.
Yeah.
And then try to do better. So we are also hoping to do a recycling program soon.
Whoa.
And see what we can do. But these things take time. So
Of
until
course.
we can do it, we don't want to make any greenwashing claims.
No, that's very welcoming to listen to. I think that is also something most brands are turning to, sustainability. So great to know. So if we look at the Indian skincare industry as it currently stands, it's highly monopolistic, large number of buyers, large number of sellers, so many new entrants. The other time we spoke about this barrier of entry has really gone away because thanks to all these white labeling concerns. What I want to know is your view of the future of all these incumbent brands that are really coming in. Every day we're seeing new skincare brands in this space. What do you think would a crystal ball gaze into the future of these brands look like?
Interesting. This is something we also discuss, in our weekly marketing calls as well. There's as much as you discuss your future, you also discuss the industry future. And it has the barrier to entry has gone down a lot. So it's very easy to launch a brand now, but it's just that much harder to build a brand. And this is my personal opinion, like if you start something with the intention of business or dhanda, as commonly it's called, in the long term you may or may not build a brand.
Right.
But if you build a brand, business is an eventual outcome of it.
Sure.
But the vice versa is not necessarily true. And building a brand is getting harder.
Yeah.
Getting your monthly revenue, there are tried and tested strategies. You go do the constant discounting, you'll get kuch na kuch to aayega hi. But building a brand for the long term is getting increasingly harder. With that much that much options in the market, think of it from a consumer perspective. Daily they are flashed with at least 8 to 10 beauty brand ads. How confusing it is for them, how much harder it is for them to decide which is a brand I can actually trust and make an online purchase. It's becoming overwhelming. So what does the future look like? Unfortunately, like I see on LinkedIn as well, a silent graveyard has started of a lot of brands shutting down within 1.5 years of launching. Because if you are, and this is my perspective on things, I could be right or wrong, but when you suddenly see that beauty demand has increased in India, it's a hot sector to launch a business or a D2C brand in, and with that objective or motivation you launch a brand, it may not have that longevity.
Sure.
There has to be more thought put into the why of you wanting to launch a brand. The formula comes down to you have to be product first. It has to be product centric. Your brand needs to have that distinct identity and convincing power why the customer should come to you as opposed to the plethora of other brands. And any brand that can sort of crack that will be here to stay. But if you're just going to do the white label, like barrier to entry is low, white label something and put it into the market, keep putting more and more products into the market, future is bleak with that kind of formula. Of course, I may be completely wrong. People can do that and still grow business. But then slowly you move towards from being a product focused brand to becoming a marketing engine, because then you have to put that much more money into marketing to constantly keep bringing it in front of your audience and convincing them to buy from you. So and it's not easy, no matter what the picture looks like from outside, whether it's a Dew or any other brand, making sales every day is hard. So if you're going to get into this industry thinking that because beauty is hot right now, let's make a quick buck, it's not easy. It takes a lot, and you have to a lot of times hit the check mark on a lot of points at the same time to really bring out, like you need to have good branding, your marketing needs to be subtle but good, your positioning needs to be right, your products have to be excellent, your packaging has to be good. Like you can't do 3 out of 5, you can't do 2 out of 5, sometimes you have to do 5 out of 5 to really hit that jackpot. And it's not like we've gotten the formula right, it's a work in progress every single day. Every single day, every week, you have to sit and think, how do we meet the targets? It's not easy, whatever it might look like from the outside. So keep that in mind. That's the that's the reality of the business.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, of course, there are those, like I said, easy ways, like, you can discount but you don't want a discount to be the motivation for someone to purchase from you.
Of course.
Let the motivation be the USP you are bringing into that consumer's life through your product.
Yeah.
Let that be the motivation for them to buy from you, and not because I'm saving 250 rupees, so let me buy the product.
100%.
Then you are never going to acquire a quality customer.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you follow that strategy, I don't know what the future is. But if you have the long-term game in mind, be a patient founder, be a patient entrepreneur, and slow, very cliched, slow and steady wins the race. So when you are very patient, you don't want that overnight growth. Patiently keep doing what you think is going to serve you in the long term. You will build a good brand. You will build a stable brand. You will build a sustainable brand that outlives you.
Of course.
Yeah.
With this, we're seeing that there's a growing consumer demand in the skincare industry. We're seeing a lot of skincare brands taking an Omni Channel approach with equal focus on online channels and offline channels.
Yeah.
What is your view of having a presence offline as well?
Yeah.
And plans in that regard?
I think having that omni-channel presence, or having a very balanced presence, is important. And Glossier is a great case study of this. They built an excellent brand. They were one of the brands that every beauty brand aspires today to be. They were the unicorn and the ray of hope for all aspiring beauty brands. They did a lot of things right, but they didn't do some things right, and that's a great case study. They were so focused on building that community, which they actually already had, but a D2C channel approach. They never were present on any retailers, and then we saw the downfall of what happened with Glossier.
Sure.
My take on this is to have a balanced approach. It is very important to build your D2C channel. It's only in D2C that you own your data.
Yeah.
And today that is the powerful tool you have.
Correct.
Because retailers might shut down, Instagram might shut down, YouTube. These are all, you're relying on third party channels.
Yeah.
Everything might shut down. Should your business shut down if all of it shuts down? No. So when you own that data is when you know that you will still be able to recover from whatever might happen externally. So build a D2C channel, and when you think it's right, then start bifurcating and increase your distribution and be present on all, which is what we did with you. For a year, we were not present on any retailers, and now we balance our presence on retailers and our D2C. First focus, keep on D2C, and then start bifurcating, increase your distribution and channel presence.
Interesting. Shamika, we've now reached the point in our show where we have to ask you about the Alia Bhatt moment that happened to you. What was it like? The aftermath. What was it like for the office at you? What was it like for you personally? What did it mean for you all?
I think more than anything, and what really stays with me, this was a huge motivation for my team. Because we followed a very different path. A lot of times we have to take that decision month on month. No, we will not do a sale. We will not do a discount. We have a long-term brand positioning in mind. We won't dilute the branding. A lot of those decisions, keeps you away from really pushing that exponential growth for the brand, because which you see a lot of other D2C brands do. But there was some long-term vision in mind, and when this Alia Bhatt thing happened, it sort of was like a culmination of finally getting that recognition, and just my the motivation I saw in my team's eyes after that, like the way they've been working. And overnight we had to you're bombarded with like gazillion inquiries and orders, and we've always been a very lean team, so that last 1.5 months I've slept barely 5 hours and worked 18 hours every day. I broke my back. It's been very intensive, but it was surreal. I was actually the last one to find out when it happened, because I was in a different time zone. I was sleeping blissfully, and of course I wish I was with my team when that happened, but it's been phenomenal. It's a lot of validation, and just that motivation we needed to reinstill our faith and belief in our own brand, that we are on the right track. Whatever that we are doing, the slow SKUs launching, focusing more on product quality and efficacy, and not doing the constant new launches.
One thing is validation, and one thing is validation from someone of her stature and with her skin.
Yeah,
It's,
I know, and a lot of people, and maybe this is a great time to say that or clarify that, a lot of people thought that this was some conspiracy and a hidden sponsored ad or whatever. It was not. She is a brand customer, and her sister has also been a customer for a year, so we can see they purchased multiple times. So she's been, so there wasn't anything sponsored,
Right.
and it's very incredible and commendable of them and of her stature. Like, Indian celebrities don't openly talk about anything, right? Like, because they are under so many contracts and brand endorsements, to openly talk about the products you use genuinely is very commendable. No one has done it, and then someone of her level to do it is incredible. You see a lot of this happening in Hollywood. A lot of Hollywood stars like Hailey Bieber, and a lot of the Hollywood community has always been very vocal with talking about the products they use, and that's why consumerism is a lot more, like the smaller D2C brands there also get a lot of leverage and credibility, because celebrities very openly endorse those brands. Endorse doesn't organically say that I use this is my routine, but Indian celebrities don't do that. So extremely commendable of Shaheen and her to do that. So we're very grateful that they actually gave a shout out to a homegrown brand that they use and love. And it was very sweet of her to speak about it so passionately. It almost felt like she spoke directly to even as a founder. I mean, of course I love my products, but I haven't spoken so fondly of them. There's always the bias, but it's very sweet of her to do that.
Lovely, how lovely. What would you say are your future plans with you? What kind of a diversification do you see? What kind of new launches do you aim for? Are there any fundraise plans? Take us through what your vision is for Due.
So, of course, a lot more product launches coming up. Because our development cycle is completely overseas. There are a lot of invariable delays, but there are a lot more launches coming up this year and next year. We have a lot of products in development, so the entire skincare category through and through will be launched. So every sort of sunscreen, cleanser, then we are foraying into other categories as well, and maybe in 1.5-2 years we want to explore offline retail as well.
Interesting.
Once that entire category in skincare is there, then we would want to foray into offline as well, and fundraising probably next year, mid of next year.
Interesting. What has stopped you from raising funds so far, and do you look forward to taking that plunge, and what is your thought process with that?
What stopped me is I'm a patient founder, and I don't want an impatient someone chasing me. Like, the growth path I have in mind for the brand needs a lot of patience. It needs me to employ different strategies. There's no blueprint that I can follow for Due's growth journey, because see, when you launch if Due was in the mass price segment, there are a lot of tried and tested strategies there I can see in the market that are a blueprint for really scaling. There is no other brand I can compare Due to and be like, okay, this brand is scaled at a similar price point in this strategy, and we can sort of copy that and scale it. I have to build that strategy as I go and as I build the brand. So I need a lot of patience. I need a lot of faith in the long-term vision. And sometimes with taking investor money, that doesn't come. The second you take investor money, there's a clock that starts ticking on your head. And I didn't want to do that. And touch wood, so far, because the brand has grown sustainably, I haven't felt the need for external funding. All the money that the business makes goes back into our R&D, goes back into the business. So far, and because our launches are so far out, that helps. That will be changing like this year, because we have multiple launches coming up, and next year is also going to be lined up similarly. So next year is when I would probably look at fundraising, and find a suitable investor partner that fits or has the same vision and allows us to build the brand patiently how we want to.
Lovely. Well, all the best with that.
Thank
Shamika, what do you think would be one tip from you to, the new generation of entrepreneurs?
Resilience, I would say, is a very underrated attribute. And resilience is a muscle. It's your mind, it's your mental muscle. You can't show it to the world, but it has to be built internally for your own sake and goodness, so you can sail through life. And if that's missing, it'll just get very hard. That would be a key thing to have, and a very problem solving and can do anything and can figure out anything kind of an attitude. A lot of like hard points that come, your large scale production can go haywire.
Yeah.
How do you sail through those times? I mean, there is a solution for everything, but those are moments of intense stress and anxiety. It's your mental strength that takes you through that.
Sure.
Do you stop living your life, or do you let that stress percolate into your personal life, like compartmentalizing? This is all mental strength. So despite of all of that happening, still putting a front for your team and ensuring that you're still directing them as the ship leader, captain in the right direction, without letting that stress pass or percolate within your team. Listen to stories of failure. For me,
And not success.
Because failures that then turned into success gave me hope. When I was at my life's lowest point, hearing success stories only didn't give me hope. I needed to see someone who was at their lowest, most down point in their life.
Sure.
They failed, and then how did they still become a success despite failing?
Right.
So I would do that, and that also helped me build my mental muscle. So
And you created Due there
actually,
also.
yes, that's exactly when I created Due, when I was at my lowest in life. So there was some sort of blind faith and a fire that had arisen in me, which led me onto this path.
And what an outcome that we were seeing, from that. Lovely. That's it, Shamika. Thank you so much. It was a wonderful chat. I think we explored a good ready reckoner for someone who wants to start a brand in general and a brand in personal care specifically. I think this will be very insightful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It was such a delight having this conversation with you, and I hope anyone watching, there are important takeaways for anyone to help in their journey as well. And it was really nice just having this conversation with you.
Lovely.
You're a lovely host. Thank you for having me. So it's been a lovely short and brief journey with Runway Miles with Simran, and I hope we have more chapters to come. But when Simran reached out to me on email, or I think LinkedIn, I do get few of these requests, and usually it just slips through the cracks. But somehow I ended up reconnecting with Simran and following through, and I'm so glad I did. She has such a curious and vivacious personality, where she's so genuinely interested in wanting to know your journey. And when there is genuine interest is when a lot of real transparent information comes out, which can then help a lot of people watching this. And I think that's her objective with this project. So it's been really lovely, and I hope I look forward to watching a lot of the episodes coming out. And we hope, and my best wishes to Simran for this project.